So, have you ever wondered how you can make a first-person character controller for your 3D games? You know, the kind of inside view that you get in any first-person shooter, for example. Well, today we're going to see that in our modern game engines, that's actually quite easy to do. Hello everyone, I'm Mina, and in this new Godot 4 C# tutorial, we're going to implement a simple first-person controller from scratch. Alright, to start with, let's see what our player object should contain. Here I've already instantiated my player prefab scene in the middle of the level on the ground. If we examine what is inside this scene, we see that there is no visual. The player scene just contains a character body 3D root, a collision shape 3D child node to define the shape of the collider of this physics body, and here you see that we're using a thin capsule. And then a 2-node sub-hierarchy with our camera 3D inside. Now we're going to talk about why the camera 3D is inside an additional node in just a second. For now, let's focus on the physics side and see how to move this character body 3D. By the way, as a quick reminder, Godot's character body 3D is a physics body type that isn't directly affected by physics and has to be moved manually by user-defined logic, but still does affect the other bodies in its path. And it also offers a really cool and easy-to-use high-level API for moving objects with the usual collision detection, plus some specific floor, wall, and slope detection. And actually, the other really nice thing with Godot's character body 3D is that if we attach a C# script on it to define our player logic, for example player.cs, you see that we can use one of Godot's built-in code templates to autofill our script with some ready-made logic. And as is noted at the bottom, this logic is typically interesting for TPS or FPS. So let's use this template to create our code and take a look at how it works. At the top of the script, we first define some constants for the speed and jump strength of our character. We also get the global gravity value from our project settings, which ensures that our movement will be consistent with that of the other physical objects in the scene. Then, everything happens in the physics process function, which is a built-in Godot hook that is executed continuously but at a fixed frame rate, and thus will make sure that our physics computations run smoothly. So the goal of this physics process logic is to compute an updated velocity vector for our player, and at the very end, assign it back to our character body 3D and have it move based on this new velocity with the built-in move and slide function. The update consists in 3 parts. First, if our player is not on the ground, we apply the gravity to bring it back down along the vertical y-axis. Second, if we press a specific input, then we do the reverse, and we spring our player up by increasing its vertical velocity. And finally, we check other inputs to get our horizontal movement direction. By combining the left, right, up and down inputs using this input method, we're basically transforming our separate inputs into a vector-2 input. So the left and right input will give the horizontal value, and the up and down input will give the vertical value. All those values are between -1 and +1, and more specifically, if you're using a keyboard, then there will be discrete values, meaning that there will be exactly -1, 0 or +1. But if you're using a gamepad, then because the joystick can take intermediary positions, you'll be able to get any float in the -1 to +1 range on both axes. The next step is then to use our body's transform to reproject this movement direction in the local space of our player object, because we want it to be actually on the X and Z axis, so that it's actually horizontal in the 3D world. And finally, we use our speed constant to get the velocity update. If we're not pressing anything, meaning that the direction is a null vector with both inputs at 0, we use the move toward method to slow our player down over a quick amount of time, instead of just simply stopping its movement instantly. This is interesting to make a more realistic movement. So all in all, this code is pretty straightforward, although we might want to change those input names because, for now, Godot auto-generated a script that relies on built-in inputs that are available for any new Godot project. But they aren't very well named, and you don't instantly understand what they're for, something like UI accept doesn't really bring to mind the idea of jumping, so to get something more controllable, let's instead create our very own input actions. To do this, we need to open up our project settings panel and in the input map, prepare 5 custom input actions to replace those built-in ones. If you want more details on what input actions are and how to set them up in Godot step by step, feel free to have a look at this previous tutorial in the series. But anyway, once you've defined your input actions, all you have to do is replace the action name strings in the code with your own input action names, and you're done. At this point, if we try to run our game, you see that we can move our character and its onboard camera, since it's parented to it, using our input actions, as expected, and the movement properly follows the terrain. However, since we can't look around us, we're a bit stuck, and we can't really choose where we're going. So let's work on that. Okay, we can now run about with our inputs, but that's still pretty limited. The next step is to use our mouse movement to be able to look around, and thus change our character's move direction. That's where our 2-node sub-hierarchy from before will be useful. Basically, by adding this additional intermediate head node, we'll be able to separate the horizontal and vertical rotations. And this is key to making a proper first-person view. If we didn't do that, we'd quickly lose track of where up is, and end up with a really unusable look mechanic. So of course, to be able to move them as the game runs, we'll want to get references to both those nodes in our player script. For example, we can do that directly in the ready function. Then we'll use the input built-in hook, which is a way to react to player inputs. More specifically, here we want to check if the event that was generated by the user was a mouse move, so an input event mouse motion. And in that case, we're going to use its relative component to update the rotation of our head and camera nodes. As you can see, the trick is to have the horizontal mouse movement rotate the head node around its local vertical y-axis, which in most cases should actually be the same as the global y-axis, since our character is standing up, and then we use the vertical mouse movement to rotate the camera node around its local horizontal x-axis. In both cases, I'm also remultiplying by an arbitrary small factor, cam sensitivity, to make it more bearable to the human eye and avoiding everyone just getting instantly motion sick. For the camera up and down rotation, we should also make sure that we clamp the result so that the controls don't go haywire. Usually, you'll want to ensure that your camera rotation is at least between -90 and +90 degrees, meaning the points completely below the player's feet and above its head. And of course, last but not least, since we want our move direction to be based on this mouse-based look system, more precisely on the forward vector of our head node, we should go back to our physics process method, and where we reproject the move direction in the 3D space, we'll replace transform.basis with head.globaltransform.basis. This way we'll be using this object's local transform, and therefore we'll get the right rotation. And there we go! If we replay our game, you see that the mouse now indeed moves the camera in an intuitive way, and our character runs relative to this direction when we press our forward, backward, left and right input actions. However, there's still a small issue that is a bit annoying, and that's the fact that the mouse cursor is still visible. Now, this is not horrific per se, but it does create a problem, which is that if I try to rotate a lot and go over 360, I'm basically blocked at this point, because my mouse can't go any further on the screen. To fix this, the solution is to capture our mouse, meaning that we're going to hide the cursor and Godot will auto-stick it to the center of the screen. However, it will still be able to get the real mouse movements and thus rotate the head and the camera properly. This can be done by using the global input object and changing its mouse mode parameter to captured. Then, just to be able to easily exit our test game pop-up, we should add a few lines in our input function to go back to the normal visible mouse mode when we press escape. Of course, this is just an arbitrary key, you can pick whatever you like, this is more a debug/dev feature. Alright, that's better. Our mouse cursor has now disappeared, which means that we can turn as much as we want, and we've finished implementing our look-around mechanic. And we have a basic, complete first-person controller. But to wrap up this tutorial, let's add one last bonus feature, a sprint system. Okay, so here we're going to explore how to make a very common sprint feature. In short, we'll have an arbitrary input key that we can press to toggle the sprint on and release to toggle it off, and if we're sprinting, then we'll move slightly faster. For the input itself, we can do the same as before and add a new sprint input action in our project settings in the Input Map tab. Then in our script, we'll do the following. First, we'll create a boolean flag to know whether we're currently sprinting or not. Then in our input function, we'll add a few more checks that get triggered when we press or release our new input action and turn the sprint boolean on or off depending on the input state. Finally, in the physics process method, we'll check if this flag is currently on or off and either use our constant speed as is or multiply it by an arbitrary factor slightly over 1. This way, if our sprinting variable is true, then our character will move a bit faster. Though, to get one step further and really sell the speed boost effect, a nice trick can be to also play around with your camera's FOV. In a nutshell, the field of vision, or FOV, of a camera determines how much of the scene this camera can see. It's a number that is often expressed in degrees and affects framing and perspective. Typically, by lowering this FOV, you get a more zoomed-in and less deformed view of the scene. Here we could rather increase the FOV when we toggle our sprint on. This will deform the render a bit more, which will amplify the speed effect. To do that, we can simply pick an initial FOV value for our camera in our ready function. In this case, I'm going to stick with Godot's default value of 75 degrees, and then we'll update this value when we toggle the sprint on or off. And just to make the transition smoother and not abruptly change our camera view, we can reuse the concept of twins that we discussed in this previous episode of the series, and have our camera FOV value quickly ramp up or down to the right value when we press or release our input action. And here we are! If we try our game again, we see that we can use our new sprint input to increase the speed of our character and slightly boost the FOV of our camera, which further improves this boost effect. Then, when we release our input, everything gets reset back to the normal running state. So, here you go! You now know how to implement a basic first-person controller in Godot 4, using a character body 3D node for the base physics, some custom input actions for the player interactions, and even an FOV trick on your main camera node, with some twinning to get a nice sprint effect. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to like it and subscribe to the channel to not miss the next ones. Of course, don't hesitate to drop a comment with ideas of Godot tricks that you'd like to learn. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and take care!